Welcome to Daily Red Devil for all of your latest Manchester United transfer news and talk. Lots and lots to discuss on the show today. But before we get into that, please do me a small favour. If this is your first time watching, please subscribe to the channel, bottom right hand corner. We are very close to hitting 40,100, so go and do that right now. And make sure to drop a like as well. It doesn't cost any money and it really, really helps the channel out. On the show this morning, we are going to be reacting to a story that says that apparently INEOS are targeting Sunderland's Job Bellingham as a primary main target for 2025. We'll also be reacting to the news that INEOS have cut more costs at Manchester United, including a charity donation, which has been going since 1980 for ex-Manchester United players. So we'll be talking about that. Also talking a little bit about Andy Mitten, who is a very, very reliable journalist around Manchester United, who has been talking about Marcus Rashford, which is, some of the stuff that's come out about Marcus Rashford since we've last spoken is honestly shocking. And we'll also be talking as well a bit about Joshua Zirkzee, who apparently has been allowed to leave on loan in the January window. So lots and lots to get into. As always, get involved in the comment section. Let me know your thoughts on everything we discuss on today's show. Now, because the transfer window is about to open in 2 days, I think it is, what I want to do today is I want you to let me know one realistic signing that you think Manchester United should make in January. Just put the player's name in the comment section. So is it Victor Osimhen? Is it Nuno Mendes? Is it, who else could it be? I don't know. Let me know. Who do you think? Get in the comment section now. I'll start with mine. I think a realistic signing for January is a left wing back, because we desperately need one. Obviously, we've got Dallo and Mazraoui who can play at right wing back, but I think we're in desperate need of a left-sided fullback. Obviously, Luke Shaw's injured. Malacia, let's be honest, isn't Manchester United quality. Harry Amas clearly isn't ready to start at the age of 17. I know there's this hype around Harry Amas and people seem to think that he's like the saviour and that he's, should be playing every week and all the rest of it. But at the end of the day, right, Harry Amas is only 17 years of age. I think he's a player for the future. I just don't think that he's probably going to get any game time now. So I would probably go as a realistic signing. I think Nuno Mendes from PSG, I would say, is a realistic option. Let's talk about Nuno Mendes really quickly because he was my pick. So the latest on Nuno Mendes is that apparently Manchester United have submitted an offer to PSG. The offer hasn't been rejected yet. This came out yesterday from a very reliable French Parisian journalist. And is there a world where PSG say, you know what, we want Marcus Rashford again, and maybe a deal gets done? I think it's possible. Obviously, the only issue with Marcus Rashford is obviously his wages. Now, PSG do pay massive wages. They've paid Kylian Mbappe close to £1 million a week previously. But I think that from what I've heard, PSG are kind of trying to change the way they do things. They're trying to change their wage structure and all the rest of it. And obviously, bringing in someone like Rashford would kind of mess with that wage structure again. But I think it's a realistic option because at the end of the day, whatever you think of Marcus Rashford, there is an opportunity in the market there for another club to bring somebody in when their stock price is at rock bottom. Like INEOS want rid of Marcus Rashford. Ruben Amorim wants rid of Marcus Rashford. And from what I've heard and what I've read, Man United would be willing to accept as little as £20 million for Marcus Rashford, which seems like a very small amount of money. But I guess when you factor in the main issue that he has a wage of £325,000 a week, right? And he still has 4 years left on his contract. So if you calculate the whole of his contract remaining based on the wages that he's owed, it's around £80 million that he's owed over the next 4 years. So even if you did get 20 million, right? 20 million straight profit because he's come through the youth academy, plus you're saving £80 million in wages over 4 years. I mean, that's £100 million across 4 years. It's a massive amount of money. So, yeah, I think there is some possibility there that could well happen. But, yeah, I want you to let me know who your player is. Who do you think's a realistic transfer target for the January window? Let me know in the comment section below. Let's see what we've got in the chat this morning. Kevin says that Nuno Mendes is on his shopping list. Yep. Somebody says, what is going on with Naipan? Naipan's gone very, very quiet. To be honest with you, I feel like this Naipan story is one that's being led by agents and by the media. So Yeah, I don't know. I feel like Naipan is somebody that we will end up going in for, but I don't know whether it will be in January, to be honest. Hopefully, I think he's a decent player. Only 17 years of age, Norwegian. But yeah, I don't think he's one that we'll go for in January. I might be wrong, though. I might be wrong. I could well be wrong. But let's move on from that, though, and let's talk about this story around Job Bellingham. So this is coming out from a couple of different people this morning, and the news is this. There is a huge chance that Manchester United will materialise their interest with a bid for Jobe Bellingham and look to sign the midfielder in 2025. Now, I think Jobe Bellingham is definitely a talented player. Obviously, the brother of Jude Bellingham, obviously. Would he work at Manchester United? I don't see why not. I'll be honest with you, I haven't seen Jobe Bellingham play football that much. I've seen him play a couple of times. I've seen clips and stuff of him. I'm not sure if he's at the same level as Jude Bellingham. I don't think he is personally. And I don't know, I just feel that Jobe Bellingham's going to have so many options, as in so many different clubs will be interested in him, And I just don't think Man United's a particularly attractive prospect at the moment, being honest. We're 14th in the Premier League. Everything you're hearing coming out from the club is negative. There's nothing positive coming out of Manchester United, whether it's INEOS sacking all the staff, whether it's INEOS removing charitable donations to a Manchester United ex-players trust. Like, when you break down all of the stuff that's going on at the moment, none of it's good, realistically. And I just think that, Jobe Bellingham, I believe, is represented by his family, the same as Jude Bellingham is. Remember, Jude Bellingham came to Carrington and was walked around by Sir Alex, I think, and he still decided to go to Dortmund. I just think that any parent who is representing a player, their advice is probably going to be to stay well away from Manchester United. Yes, Manchester United's a big club. Yes, it's got a massive fan base, all the rest of it. But I don't know. I just think for a young player like this, unless they're like a boyhood Man United fan and all the rest of it, then maybe. But I just think there's so many better run football clubs at the moment. And, for a player like this who's still very, very young, I think you can go and develop somewhere else much better, like a Dortmund, I don't know, like a Red Bull Leipzig, somebody like that, a team where you can go there. You're not under the spotlight as much. So as much as I think he would be a good signing, I think the likelihood of it happening is probably quite small. That doesn't mean that we won't go in for him. I just think that there'll be other people in for him, like a Dortmund or someone like that. And that they'll collectively decide that that's the best thing for his career. So I'm not going to get myself too excited about this one. I think the likelihood of it happening is quite small, but obviously it's a news show, so I bring you guys the news and we discuss it. Would you like to see Jobe Bellingham at Man United? Let me know. Maybe there's some of you in the chat who've watched more of him than I have. As I've said, I've only seen some clips, so yeah. But let's move on from that, though, and let's talk a little bit about this. Let's talk a little bit about this whole story of INEOS stopping funding a charity for ex-Manchester United players. So just to be very clear on this whole situation, right? Manchester United have been giving a charity which helps ex-Manchester United players, all sorts of different things, whether it's funeral costs, whether it's organising meetups to kind of, to reunite them. And this charity's been going since 1985, and Manchester United have been donating £10,000 every quarter for the last, since 1985. So what's that, 40 years? 40,000 a year they give to this charity, which I think is an amazing thing to do, Most of us probably hadn't have heard of this charity until yesterday, but I think it is important to look after your ex-players. When it's for things like funeral costs and things like that, it's like on a human level, it's just something that you should be doing, looking after the people who've been a part of your club. And the news came out yesterday that apparently INEOS have not paid the normal donation that they're supposed to pay for the last 2 quarters. So they've missed two payments of £10,000, and it's come out saying that apparently they will not. They will not be paying them anymore. I mean, I don't understand what INEOS think they're doing, to be honest. They're already on thin ice, I think. And when you do stuff like this, it doesn't paint them in a good light. It really, really doesn't. They sacked, I think it was 300 people, locals who worked for the club. They cancelled the Christmas party for the staff. They refused to give the stewards a £100 Christmas bonus. I mean, that's just laughable. £100 for a Christmas bonus, and they took that away from them. It doesn't make you feel much love towards these people, does it? You know, and some people will say, oh, they're being ruthless, they're doing this, they're doing that. Fine. Maybe they are. But at the same time, when you've still got players like Casemiro, Luke Shaw, you know, these people who are earning £350,000 a week, right? Casemiro earns 350 grand a week and he doesn't play. You've got that and you're allowing that, but then you won't give £40,000 a year, which is what? What's that a week? It's about £500 a week over the course of a year that they'd have to donate to this charity. And they're refusing to do it. Now, people will say, oh, well, these players are under contract. They could just say, you know what? We don't want you anymore. Goodbye. Get rid of them. You know, agree a payoff deal with them. Maybe you say Casemiro's got 1 year left on his contract and you say, you know what? I don't know. Or they just, you know, they try and push to sell them to Saudi. Like, I just don't understand it. I get you need to save money. But at the same time, the only reason we need to save money is because INEOS effectively enabled the Glazers staying. INEOS came into this club. They didn't clear the debt. If the debt was cleared, we'd be in a much different situation. We wouldn't need to be saving £40,000 from charities. We wouldn't need to be cancelling Christmas parties and telling the stewards that they don't get their £100 Christmas bonus. And I know it all seems petty, but when you add it all up together, you know, it's a pretty daunting way at looking at things, because a football club shouldn't be a business, really. It should be a family, a community, and all of this stuff. And at the moment, INEOS are effectively dissembling that community. They're dissembling that family. That's the fact of the matter. And they'll come out and say, oh, we need to save money. We're in a bad position. The only reason they need to save money is because they enabled the Glazers to stay. And the only reason they need to save money is because Jim Ratcliffe and INEOS aren't willing to clear the debt. Like, have a look at INEOS's net worth, right? INEOS's net worth is, at the moment, at the point of recording this video, Jim Ratcliffe has a personal net worth of around 20 billion. 20 billion pounds. Manchester United's debt's around £500 million. He has enough money to clear the debt. He just doesn't want to. He has enough money to build a stadium out of his own money. He just doesn't want to. He's going to use other people's money and put us into more debt. You have a man here who's got a net worth of £20 billion. And he's made the decision, or him and Dave Brailsford, to stop giving £40,000 a year to a charity that helps ex-Man United players with funerals, with other things, yeah? I mean, it doesn't bode very well, does it? A man that's worth 20 billion isn't willing to donate £40,000 a year to a charity that does really important work around ex-Manchester United players. Or he isn't willing to pay the stewards who go and work every single week, probably for for very small amount of money. He's not willing to give them a bonus. He's not willing to give them a Christmas party. I mean, if this was the Glazers, I think there'd be people rioting, there'd be protests. But because it's been packaged as local lad Jim Ratcliffe, who hasn't lived in Manchester for 50 years and has a season ticket at Chelsea and tried to buy Barcelona, but he's still this local lad that people seem to like, it's complete rubbish. Just because someone's born in a city doesn't mean they're any more of a fan than somebody else. Jim Ratcliffe doesn't even live in England. He lives in Monaco, you know, and he has a season ticket for Chelsea. And he tried to buy Barcelona, he tried to buy Chelsea, and then he ended up buying 28% of Manchester United. Like, I don't know. We're stuck with what we've got now. But the point I'm making here is, I think they've been very, very clever here. And I think we've been kind of had the wool pulled over our eyes, you know? Because it is really just the Glazers still. It's the Glazers pulling the strings, and it's the Glazers being able to make these decisions, which are absolutely horrible, you know, on and off the pitch. Terrible decisions. But the face of these decisions is now Jim Ratcliffe, you know, and they can hide behind this whole thing of, oh, I'm the local lad, I want to make Manchester Manchester again, and all this rubbish. And it softens the blow. Because if this was the Glazers doing it, I'm telling you, there'd be all-out carnage going down. There would be. Think about it. You know, if the Glazers had done all of these things that Jim Ratcliffe has done in the last 6 months, people wouldn't be accepting it. Now, I don't know what we're going to do from here. I don't know how we're going to get around this, to be honest, because at the moment, it doesn't look particularly good. But we are where we are. We can't get rid of them. And let's be honest, right? I don't think many people really wanted INEOS to begin with. Most people wanted a bid which was going to clear the debt, build a new stadium. That's what most people wanted. You know, whether it's Qatar, whether it's someone else, who it is irrelevant, really. Most people's priority was getting rid of the Glazers, clearing the debt, being able to fund a stadium out of your own money, being able to build a whole new area around Old Trafford out of your own money and becoming sustainable. That was what we wanted. And Jim Ratcliffe's not going to make Manchester United sustainable by stopping paying a charity £40,000 a year when you're still paying people like Rashford, Casemiro 300 grand a week. Like, it doesn't make any logical sense at all. If we were sat here this morning and, you know, Man United announced that they'd got rid of Casemiro, Eriksen, Lindelof, Luke Shaw, Mason Mount, they were like, right, all of these players are gone. You would sit there and you'd say, fair enough, I understand that, you know? But they're trying to cut costs in areas where £40,000 a year isn't even a drop in the ocean for Manchester United. It's nothing. Whereas for this charity, £40,000 a year would go a very long way. So, yeah, I don't know. Hopefully they'll come out and they'll make a statement, or they'll change their stance on it, because at the moment it doesn't look particularly good. But let's move over to some transfer-related stuff. The news this morning coming out from Italian media is that apparently Manchester United have agreed to let Joshua Zirkzee leave on loan in January. I mean, I don't understand this at all. Why would we let him leave on loan? If he's not going to work at Manchester United, right, sell him. Get the £35 million back and go and invest it in someone else. Go and buy Victor Osimhen. Go and buy, I don't know, Jonathan David. Go and buy somebody. Because loaning him out is completely pointless. Literally pointless. It only weakens us. Yes, Joshua Zirkzee probably isn't good enough for Manchester United, but I'd rather have Joshua Zirkzee in the squad than not have Joshua Zirkzee in the squad. You know, either you sell him and you get our money back, or you keep him. It's as simple as that. What happens if you loan him out? Who replaces him? Where do you find the money to buy a replacement? You know, if we're having to cut, if we're not able to give the stewards £100 Christmas bonus, how do we expect to let Joshua Zirkzee leave for free on loan and then buy a replacement? Where's that money going to come from? You know, so I just think it's dumb, to be honest. I really do. But yeah, hopefully we get some more clarification on this in the next couple of days. Yeah. So anyway, let's move on from that. Let's talk a little bit about Marcus Rashford. Again, I know people are sick to death of talking about Rashford, but it is a news show. So this story's come out from Andy Mitten, who is a very reliable journalist around Manchester United. He has been, well, he's a season ticket holder. He runs a fanzine, so like a magazine you can buy outside the stadium called United We Stand. He's been doing it since 1989. Also works for The Athletic. He's a very, very good, reliable journalist. He doesn't put out fake stories. And he's reporting this morning that every previous Manchester United manager has had issues with... Let me start again. So Andy Mitten, this is a direct quote. Every previous Manchester United manager has had issues with Marcus Rashford. I've spoken to them. I know them. They've told me in confidence going back years and years and years. So I think we all knew that there was an issue with Marcus Rashford that's been going on for a long time, right? I think that was kind of a fact, I guess. And it's quite crazy that this story's come out today saying that the problem's been going on for years and years and years, and it's not a Ruben Amorim problem. It's, you know, it happened under Ten Hag, it happened under Ralph Ragnick. Like, Ralph Ragnick wanted rid of Rashford. Eric Ten Hag threw him out of the team at one point, didn't he? Because he was out drinking in Belfast before a training session. Andy Mitten goes on to say that he's asked if Marcus Rashford is being forced out by INEOS, and he says, no, I think that Ruben Amorim has a big say in this. I think he's doing it his way. Ruben Amorim is a smiling assassin. He is a disciplinarian. So this whole assumption that it's INEOS who are pushing Rashford out is actually false. That it is more Ruben Amorim, who's come to Manchester United. He's seen something he doesn't like, and he's saying, I don't want this player here. I don't want him in my team. I don't want him in my squad. I want rid of him. So yeah, fair play to Ruben Amorim. He's only been here, a month, 2 months, and he's making these really big, tough decisions. It would be very easy for him to come to Manchester United and just, put up with Rashford like other managers did. But he's saying, no, I don't want him on my team. I want rid of him. But the biggest problem is, where do we get rid of him? Where does he go to? Obviously, we spoke about PSG at the beginning of the show. I think it's realistic. I mean, PSG still have a massive hole on that left wing, don't they? From Kylian Mbappe leaving. So there is obviously the possibility of him going there. I think it would be a very attractive proposal for Marcus Rashford. Going to Paris. You've got that whole fashion element, which we know Rashford's very interested in. And at the moment, let's have a look. So their left wingers, they've got Bradley Barcola, they've got Ousmane Dembele, who plays on the right, and they've got that Desiree Doué. So they have got quite a few options there, to be fair. But I guess you've got to remember that Rashford can play as a striker as well. Kolo Muani looks like he's going to leave PSG. So the only other striker they've got is Gonzalo Ramos. So yeah, I mean, you could see him offering a place on either the left wing or as a striker or on the right wing, So, yeah, hopefully it happens. I just want this whole saga to be done with. I just want him to move on and us to cut ties with him, to be honest. Apparently he's not going to be in the squad for the Newcastle game tomorrow. So I think Manchester United and Marcus Rashford's story is kind of coming to an end, really. But yeah, everyone who's just joined the video, if you could do me a small favour and drop a like. We're trying to get to 500 likes on this episode. And make sure to subscribe as well. We're literally about to hit 40,100. So go and do that right now if you haven't already. What have we got? Lumen says, are you happy with INEOS? Am I happy with INEOS? No, not in the slightest. Not in the slightest. To be honest, no. I mean, if you look at every single decision that INEOS have made, right? They've got Dave Brailsford, who's a cycling man, as their top kind of person overseeing everything. You've got Dan Ashworth, who we were all excited about, and then they sacked after a couple of months. They gave Erik ten Hag a new contract and gave him 200 million and then sacked him after 2 months, costing Man United around £30 million in compensation. I can't honestly think of a single positive of... all right, I'm going to be fair. I was quite happy with the outgoings in the summer. Like, I thought the outgoings in the summer were like a 6 or a 7 out of 10. But that's literally it. They've put the ticket prices up. They're sacking 200-300 locals who work for the club. They're not doing Christmas parties for the local staff. They're not... Like, genuinely, the only positive that I can think of was that I thought the outgoings in the summer were okay. And that is genuinely it. I can't think of another single positive at all. Everything else that they've done so far has been bad, I think. Genuinely. Starting with the biggest one, which was them enabling the Glazers to stay. And people will say, oh, give them time, this, that, and the other. Maybe. But they've shown their true colours, haven't they? And all these little things that they've done, like we said, cutting the funding for this charity and all the rest of these things, that just shows who they are as people. And people will say, oh, they're ruthless. I mean, if they're ruthless, they would have sold Casemiro in the summer. They would have told Casemiro, you're not part of our team. We don't want you here. Goodbye. If you stay, you're not even going to train with the team. Like, that would have been ruthless, to get rid of a player on 350k a week. The same with Rashford. If he's been causing problems for managers for the last 3-4 years, they would have said to him, I'm sorry, Rashford, we're not going to put up with your behaviour anymore. You're going to have to train on your own. You're not going to be picked for teams. Goodbye. Like, that would be ruthless. That's kind of like what Chelsea did, wasn't it? When Todd Boehly came in, they got rid of loads of players. Same with Arsenal when Arteta came in. They got rid of Aubameyang, Lacazette. They got rid of all these David Luiz, all these big name players. They were like, we don't want you here. Goodbye. So, yeah, I'm not happy with INEOS at all. I'm not impressed in the slightest. I just think that they're a mouthpiece for the Glazers. I just think they're a way of softening the blow of the Glazers still pulling the strings by playing on this whole, oh, a local lad runs Manchester United, which is complete rubbish. That's how I feel about them. But yeah. A couple of people in the chat are saying INEOS out, horrible owners, worse than the Glazers. I would agree. I think they're worse than the Glazers, definitely. Think about it. What have the Glazers really done wrong over the last 10 years, right? They put us in debt. INEOS would have done that as well. They take out dividends. But other than that, they haven't done any of these things that INEOS have done, realistically. You know, we're horrible towards the Glazers because they are bad owners. But the main bad things they've done are put us in debt and take dividends, right? They still were donating to these charities. They were still allowing the Christmas parties. They were still, you know, giving people their bonuses and keeping the local staff. And all, like, yes, the club's been run terribly, but I don't know. And some people will say, oh, well, maybe this is what needs to happen to make things good again. Maybe. But it's a massive risk, isn't it? Especially when you're 14th in the Premier League. Like, if you were top of the league and things were different, you would maybe be like, okay, I understand why they've sacked all these people. Maybe. But I still think you'd be a bit like, why are they doing this? Yeah. But yeah, I would agree that INEOS are worse than the Glazers. I would. Without a shadow of a doubt. And the reason why they're worse, or why they're allowed to be worse, is, as I said, they can hide themselves behind this whole, we're run by a local lad thing. And it does my head in. It absolutely does my head in. Just because someone's born in a city doesn't mean that... And even then, right, say Jim Ratcliffe is this local lad, which he's not. He's lived in Monaco and had a season ticket at Chelsea for the last God knows how many years, right? Then why is he doing this to all these local people? Why is he... If he's a local lad, why is he stopping giving a charity that Man United have been giving money to for 40 years? Why? That helps ex-Manchester United players with funerals. That doesn't sound like something that a local lad would do to me. That sounds like something that a horrible businessman who doesn't care about the local people or the local community would do. But because he's on his passport or on his birth certificate, it says he was born in Manchester... Some people will be like, oh, well, he's from Manchester. It's his boyhood club, blah, 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 blah. It's rubbish. It's complete rubbish. He's a businessman. His only priority is making money. That's all he cares about, of course. And his only priority with Manchester United is his ego. It's an ego project. Of course it is. He wants to own a piece of a football club. If he wanted the best thing for Manchester United, he would have known that getting rid of the Glazers was the best thing. Any Manchester United fan would say that. There's not a single Man United fan out there who would say that keeping the Glazers was the right decision, right? So how can we believe that this guy is a Man United fan if his thinking was, let's keep the Glazers? It doesn't make any sense. You know, the argument's over. But yeah, it's not good, is it? What else have we got? So we've done Job Bellingham. We've done everything, I think, for today's video. I'm going to wrap the video up here then, guys. I'm going to go and have a nice walk, I think. So yeah, thank you very much for joining me. Have a great day, everybody. Don't forget to drop a like, leave a comment and subscribe before you go today. I'll be back tomorrow morning. Obviously, we've got a game tomorrow. So yeah, that's something to look forward to. Yeah, I'll speak to you all later. Bye for now.